So today we have David Mars with us, who has been an energy specialist with Columbia Water and Light for 20 years. In that time, he's served over 8,000 homes and done home consultations on 7,000 customers. He has visited scores of small businesses, apartments, complexes, sororities, fraternities, and the like. He lives in a solar-assisted home for 30 years. He has served as a staff liaison for the Energy and Environment Commission for 12 years. And you may have seen him on the city's cable TV channel on the show called Conservation Tips. He has literally seen it all, and there is rarely a time when he can't figure out a successful tack to help lower some customers' water or electric conservation. And I'd like to introduce David Mars.
I'd like to thank the Muleskinners for inviting me to talk about energy conservation. Seems like I do that a lot, and even in my sleep sometimes. The house that I live in Ashland, the garden that I have that's got about this much topsoil was generated by mules that were raised on my property, so I figured it was also appropriate that I address this group of people here today. I'm eating strawberries off of that right now, in fact. City of Columbia has had a variety of programs the past 25 years, and I'll discuss some of the old-time programs that we had and also some of the newer programs that we have. We have a variety of brochures up here, but rather than give you everything so that you might not want some of them, you can come up and take what you wish, and then that way you'll conserve paper and stuff. The first brochure basically describes the energy audit program, and I know that from deal with Leo for many years over the insulation work that we did. I remember many times we would talk about different homes and stuff, and he's done a lot to help conserve energy in the area. And I know other faces in the crowd here have done their best to also save energy. But if you know anybody, or if you yourself have not had energy audit, it'd be best to go ahead and take advantage of it. It's a free service, and it's kind of a general look at your systems, from water systems to heating systems, whether or not you have older furnaces or new furnaces, where you might have some sort of solar potentials or need conservation. These are the things we kind of go over and talk about. It takes about an hour and a half in general terms. And how many of you had an energy audit here? Okay, about 30%. I know a lot of you probably don't know the basics, so I'm kind of preaching to the converted here. But if you know anybody that might be hurting with their energy bills, obviously times are such that energy costs will be increasing, as we've seen recently in the gas situation. And around the world, the supplies are getting thinner, so the more that we can conserve, the better off we are. We can see from the ceiling up here that they've converted a lot of these lights to compact fluorescent bulbs, and we do have a rebate program. No, it's not a rebate program, but we have a program in the fall that we work through Westlake's Hardware and Hy-Vee, and those depots may change this coming fall, but you can go in and get a discounted compact fluorescent bulb, 5 per customer. Gets you down about $1 or $2 per bulb, so that way you can kind of try them out. Sometimes there's issues with not enough light or quality of light or what have you, but the best thing to do is go ahead and grab some of them, try them around the home. They're real good in areas like this where lights may be on a lot, where they're going to be generating heat for your air conditioning bill, or generate, of course, higher costs. If you have a lot of lights, of course, they really make you a big amount of savings. Now, we also have had for many years, put this up a little bit, a low-interest loan program whereby you can add insulation, replace your existing furnace with either a new gas unit, or you can go to a heat pump unit. We can replace air conditioners with this program. The interest is always below about 5%, and you can vary the amount of years that it takes to pay it off. So if you've got an old air conditioner out there, or you're thinking about upgrading your heating efficiency and with an air conditioner, you might want to replace the air conditioner with a heat pump. We have a very attractive heat pump rate for our all-electric customers, and you have a gas furnace with a heat pump also. But we have a program whereby if you have a heat pump of a certain level of efficiency and you got your insulation level done, because we want to make sure you're got your insulation in the attic done correctly, you get a 22% reduction on your electrical use from November through May. That's everything above about a $50 base. So if you got an air conditioner that may be on the fritz, you might be thinking about converting that to a heat pump. The heat pump will run you about $700 to $800 more in general over the cost of an air conditioner, but your savings over the year with our rate helps you pay off that extra distance, that extra amount of money. Heat pumps will normally last you around 20 years, so you can see your savings over a long period of time, will add up. It helps us out as a utility also because we use a load management control on your air conditioner or your heat pump to help lower our load in the summertime. Columbia Water and Light is a summer peaking utility because our problems are in the summertime with our air conditioning load. So a lot of our programs have been geared toward lowering that air conditioning load, and a load management program is another one that we offer. Now, if you have a heat pump, the load management switch will be applied to that as part of the rate. If you have an air conditioner and you want to go on load management, well, you get a 3% discount on your June through September bill. Okay? The load management switch, we cycle through a radio signal, and we can tell your air conditioner to go off for 7 minutes out of a half an hour. The next 23 minutes, it can run full bore to cool you off if need be. And then the next half hour, you might have to cycle it off again another 7 minutes. This helps us control load, and we drop megawatts of power when we do this every summer. The reason we do that is because if we, in October, haven't bought enough energy every day for the next fiscal year, we got to figure out, these rates does, how much energy do we need in that August 19th or that August the 8th day? And we don't want to buy too much power and not use it, but we don't want to buy too little power and have to go buy it on the open market where it's very, very expensive. So what we try to do with our switches is try to control our load so that we know that we can kind of keep our costs down below what we've budgeted for every day. We also have programs with our commercial sector, our large industrial customers. I won't address that today, but there's also programs we deal with them to help lower our load. But that's what we try to do here, and so that's why we have to get our insulation up and make sure, and we also then, to help you with that, we also can get you a tree. We have a tree power program that's been going about 15 years now, and we've planted, I don't know, thousands of trees, probably about 15,000 trees in the Columbia area. We are a tree city, USA, and if you notice from any aerial shots of Columbia that we got a pretty good amount of tree activity already going on. What we do is if you think you need a tree to help shade your western wall or your northwestern corner, it's sort of the late afternoon in the summertime, that's what the sun's bearing in on you. This is a really good program. These are fast-growing shade trees, and they're about a good 7-foot trees. They're not a little wimpy little tree. They're going to go ahead and get pretty big pretty quick. You're going to have to water them. All you do basically, if you're in the city of Columbia and a Columbia Water and Light customer, call us up at the number 874-7325 and sign up for the tree power program. At the same time, you sign up for load management. You can sign up for load management right over the phone. We send a fellow out to go ahead and hook up the switch. If you don't like the way the switch is operating on your air conditioner, say you got too much heat gain or you're just not wanting that switch, we will take it off, no questions asked. So it's not that you're obligated to hold on to it. We'd like you to help us out. Because in essence, what it does is saves everybody money. If we have to go out and buy extra power in the summertime, that's very costly. And then we have to basically spread that out through all our customer base. And we don't want to do that, and you don't want to see that on your bill. So that's why we have these programs, and hopefully you all participate with that. We have a water quality report that's just come out. If you wanted to find out about the quality of our water here in Columbia, we do this every couple of years. There's a brochure up here that describes that. We have very good water. We try to do a lot with water conservation. I might just make mention that you want to make sure your toilets are not flowing nonstop. I don't know how many times I've gone into homes and, oh, there's nothing wrong there. Well, you have to go ahead and look at it more exactly because we can waste a lot of water. You can make thousands of gallons of water a month just down the sewer without checking these appliances. Especially as you get a little hard of hearing and stuff, this is when the problems come in. Yeah, well, you can view it, but it's also kind of easy to hear. The symptoms are the toilet's flushing and no one's there, and who's in the flushing, that's when the stopper goes bad. If your valve goes bad, it just keeps filling up and goes down your drain pipe, and that's when you might not hear it. So you have to pick the top off and take a look in there. But we spot a lot of that and try to keep our water consumption down low too, because it's a precious commodity. We have a great source of water down at the river, and we hope that you all like to conserve it too. I have a couple of booklets here that you might find interesting. There's one called A Renter's Guide. If any of you own rental property or know anybody nearby you who might need some help, this rental guide is very handy for kind of the basics of how you can save energy, how you can spot things in your rental apartment to help you save energy. I also brought a handbook here that goes through a lot of our programs from, we have a trade-a-tree program whereby if you have trees in your power lines, not necessarily ones from your house to ours, but from in back of the house that might be a problem in an ice storm or something of that nature, we have a free program whereby we'll take those trees out and plant in some low-growing flowering trees to replace them, because we don't want to have any outages like they've had in St. Louis recently with the storm. So, we spend a pretty good amount of money every year trimming our trees and trying to make sure that we can provide you with the service. And I know that last winter, when all the ice storms did hit, we did pretty well here considering what happened in the other major areas. And generally what happens in, say, the St. Louis area is that, they don't have as much money going into the program, perhaps, the utility there, or they have people who don't want them to cut down their trees. And finally you get an ice storm, all the trees just come down, and then they can come and go, well, okay, now we can clear these things up. So we don't want to do that here. We want to be more proactive here and try to get it in the bud. So if you get any tree limbs in your lines there, let us know, because we'll take care of that for you. Let's see. So I think it basically has flyers in here to describe different programs and different tips in here, like what appliances use, kilowatt hours, et cetera, how you kind of peg out what you might be doing at home. And I also might mention that the energy audit, you can also just call us up, and call me up in particular, and a lot of times over the phone I can kind of walk you through, what may or may not be happening in your home. I mean, I know a lot of you are working to be very conservative and with your utilities, and so sometimes it's just easy as calling us up and talking to us over the phone. How many of you are in the Columbia area? Wynn, you're outside in the county there. Anybody else in the county here? Yeah. Well, if you talk, Gary Jennings there at Boone Electric is also very good at finding out, things about your energy consumption that can help you out there. So call your electric cooperative too. We're actually real fortunate to have both a cooperative and a public power utility here in Columbia that has programs like this, help people out. And we do a lot with our low-income customers and a lot of our students, who come in, and a lot of times we're the first way that they learn about energy consumption, because they're, away from home, and all of a sudden they're paying the bills, or their parents are paying the bills, and they're going, what about this high bill? And so we do a lot of education of people in that area too. I might mention that we've also educated a lot of our ninth graders. We have a program that we've had for the last 12 years, I guess it's been, called Energy Challenge. And in that we would go to the ninth grade class, and we could catch everybody in their science classes. There was 1,200 students, and that's the last time they're all together in one group. And for this period of time, we had 2 classroom sessions whereby we would actually teach them about furnace systems and filters and blocked airflow and what have you, different basics of energy, and then do a follow-up and help them learn more. They had things they had to go home, do their own energy audit at home, and get their parents involved. And it's been a really great program and really fun to do. We also have a few new things this year. If you know anybody who's elderly, handicapped, low income, who may have a old window air conditioner that might not be quite as efficient as they'd like it to be, or maybe you've heard it run and run and run. We have a program here, we're doing an exchange, a free exchange of air conditioners. They have to bring in, on June the 1st, and they have to bring their old one in. They can get a new air conditioner that'll be more efficient than their old one. So if you know anybody in these kind of straits, this flyer will address that. We also are trying to encourage, when you get a new air conditioner, to install higher efficiency model, kind of going beyond the bar that's normally set by the heating and cooling companies, because heating and cooling companies want to come and they want to sell you a unit. They want to just be adding on stuff and make their bid very high. They want to keep their bid as low as possible to make it attractive to you. So too often you might want to say, well, what about a higher efficiency model, and see what they say. Well, to encourage you to do that, we have a rebate program whereby if you go up to at least a CR14 model, and depending on the tonnage that you purchase, you'll get a rebate from Water and Light for that effort. A higher efficiency unit costs a little bit more money, so we're trying to give you a little more to kind of prime the pump, so to speak, to get you to get a higher efficiency model. So that again, as time goes on, we're not paying that money, out to the grid. Also, kind of a very new program that we're offering this year is a way that you can finance a solar water heater for your home. We kind of have a fairly good system of daylight here, but 9 months, 8 months, sunshine. If you got a south-facing roof or a way that you can orient these collectors to catch the sun, you may then be able to put a solar water heater on your home, and we'll finance that for you. It helps us a lot with, of course, our peak time in the summer. If we can get that, that water heater off our grid during the summertime, it helps us all out. And of course, it's free heat once you get the unit installed. So you might want to take a look at this brochure also. Then eventually we're going to be moving into what's called an Energy Star Rated Home program, where we'll be testing homes and giving them ratings and showing ways that you can, again, improve your property and make it more energy efficient. There's a certain testing that goes on, and we're in the process now of learning how to do this. And we'll be coordinating this with the DNR in a statewide effort. And so that's kind of a new program coming up also. I think that covers the brochures that I brought. If anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
You may have touched on it, but some of us live in the city, but we're on the Boone County electric grid. Do they have a similar program for the solar heating for the?
As I know, not right now. I don't know if they're thinking about that or not. The question was whether or not Boone Electric has any programs for solar water or not. And I don't believe wind, no, they don't yet. No, they're probably thinking about it. Right now, we're also looking at photovoltaic hookups here in the city of Columbia. Now, these are more costly. These are, photovoltaic panels that generate electricity for your home. And in fact, this coming Monday at City Council, they'll be looking at a bill to pass for net metering, whereby we will then, purchase energy from the production of photovoltaic panels up to around 10 kW. So that would be for commercial, light commercial, and residential. They are already looking at that on their grid in Boone Electric. They have some wind power that they're trying to blend into their system too. Boone County is not necessarily the best for wind power. It sort of comes and goes. The sun is perhaps a little more prevalent here. So, but to deal with that and deal with our future energy profiles, I mean, Water and Light's doing the best that they can to come up with programs that are most current and will help us out in every which way we can. Okay.
Can you please explain to me, what is a heat pump and how do they work?
The question is, what is a heat pump and how do they work? Basically, anything that provides refrigeration is a heat pump. They didn't call refrigerators heat pumps because you wouldn't think they would keep your food cold if they called them that, but that's what they are. They basically use a compressed gas, in a lot of cases Freon, or now there's a new gas, Puron, that they use. It's not as deleterious to the environment, to transfer heat from one area to another. So an air conditioner is a heat pump, and it takes the heat from inside the home and converts it outside. If you go outside with the air conditioner, there's hot air blowing off that fan. That's actually heat from inside that's being pumped to the outside. A heat pump, so an air conditioner is a heat pump, but they don't call it that. They call it an air conditioner. A heat pump, though, works both ways. In the wintertime, it takes heat from the outside, and it only works good, say, at around 20 degrees, 25 degrees, and then you really have to go to some backup heat, like either electric resistance or natural gas or what have you. But down to about 25 degrees, there is heat in the air, and it absorbs that heat and pumps it inside your home. Fan then blows over the coil and delivers that heat inside, and then the coolness is delivered outside. A freezer is a heat pump. The air conditioner in your car is a heat pump. But they're just not called that because you wouldn't think they would do what you want them to do. Mm-hmm. Chris?
As a matter of public policy, should we be charging more for electricity between, say, noon and 7 than in July and August and maybe the first half of September? Certainly costs a lot more.
It certainly costs a lot more, but I think that I would have to refer you to our rates department for something like that. That's the kind of things they look at, and we don't have that kind of rate structure now, as I recollect. No, we basically have different levels of energy consumption, and then you get charged for whatever levels you go up to. Okay. Yes, sir.
Just a comment, not a question.
Mm-hmm.
Comment is, you said this is a tree city, and we like it that way, but until when the developers come in, they put their blades down, and that area is no longer trees. And I don't think we've addressed that with enough muscle. Other point, what are we doing in
I think that most all new subdivisions, what have you. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was whether or not what are we doing to get underground utilities put in? The big problem, of course, in your established neighborhoods are just the physical impediments to it. You know, your driveways, your underground gas lines, your sewer lines, what have you. Where we have more of a straight shot, it's easier to do it like we did along the business loop there a few years back. I think that in every new subdivision, they go underground with them. And I know that the mayor and people are looking at putting more of it underground because of the problem with trees falling down and messing up your distribution, of course, over the. Big problem is, again, this kind of old neighborhoods and cost. I'm not sure, again, what the costs are. I know that they're prohibitive in some of the older neighborhoods. But I know the new neighborhoods we are. And with the new neighborhoods also that don't have any trees, we're working more with these people to put in more trees through our tree power program, which gets some trees up and going. But yes, you're right. When you take down some large trees that have been there 30, 40 years, it's hard to replace those. I guess a lot of the problem with construction is that as you run bulldozers over their roots, you can't guarantee that they will survive. There was that one instance out at Cracker Barrel where some years ago, where they had this big tree out there and they wanted to preserve it, and all of a sudden it was gone. And because more than likely when you put a parking lot over it and you're going to kill the tree anyway. So I think a lot of it may be that I'm not saying this is right or that this is the way it is, but it seems to me that they think that, well, if we go roughing up a tree or something, it's going to just, in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be dead anyway. Sort of a fatalistic view, but I think that that's perhaps one of the motivation. Because I know in some areas they do try to preserve some of the old trees because they're so beautiful, but I think it's been the modus operandi too often, and especially like out there at Lake of the Woods right now, where all those apartments have gone up there and they just basically take out a whole forest and stuff. I know there's a tree ordinance, and that'll be something you have to deal with Public Works in their forestry division there, how they determine, how many trees they can take out and leave and what have you. Yeah, Jerry.
Comment to the person with the rate question. The city is just completing a study of all of their rates, the electrical, the water, the sewer, and everything. And there is, basically, it's a study that's looking at where we are with other communities. Is our rate structure adequate in terms of a longer future view? And the city council will be having a work session getting the results of that rate structure in the near future. And you're certainly welcome. I can't remember for sure where it is, when it is, but it's on the city website. You're certainly welcome to come and participate and be there for the presentation on the study and some of the discussion.
Okay. Yeah. City website is www.gocolumbiamo.com. And it's on my business card here if you want to pick one up later. Yes, sir.
Is there any consideration given to reduction in electric rates for off-peak power?
Any word about reduction of electric rates and off-peak power?
The industrial class has an off-peak rate.
The industrial class has that.
They get it. There's 2 riders that would affect the industrial customers.
Yeah, that's about it right now. There's basically, for the industrial customers, there's 2 riders that give them off-peak lower prices on their electrical consumption. Yes, Wynn.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I understand that there's a higher summer rate for electric use over 750 kilowatt hours a month.
Yeah.
30% more?
It's about 30% more.
No, but that's something which is important to hold down peak demand too.
Yeah, yeah, and the question was whether or not we have a level where electricity costs more than it would otherwise, and it's 750 kilowatt hours, and anything above that costs you a little bit more. It's sort of a tiered rate. I know that the utility, the big utility in the area has had that for many years in a way. Their rates go down in the winter time when their consumption is lower, and then they raise their rates up, high in the summertime. A lot of times it's that sticker shock, so to speak, that gets you to turn that thermostat down and think about conservation. So it's somewhat effective. Yes, ma'am.
What is the average electrical use? I know you said 750 kilowatt hours. What's the average home?
What's the average home use? Oh, of course, it depends on the family size and what kind of appliance you have. It can be as low as, I'll use dollars, about $20 to $22 if you're really conserving, or an average family would probably use between $50 to $70 a month. And then depending on the size of the house, the amount of gadgets and stuff, it can go up to, say, 90 to 120 on the average. Anything above that would be on cooling or on heating cost. Yes, Kavanaugh.
What do you think the most cost-efficient energy savings is available, is out there? Is it adding insulation? Is it changing old outdoor units? What is the best thing that somebody can do?
In other words, what's the pecking order of energy conservation is insulation, insulation, insulation. This last winter, we haven't had a winter like that. And, in Missouri, you just don't know what's the summer going to be like. We've had really cool summers. It looks like a cool spring, but we could be hammered again by what happened last year, very bad summer. And we had a very bad winter. It was coldest in 30 years. Well, that replicated itself. It makes no difference if you got yourself well insulated and, got your windows and doors generally tied. Those would be the basics. And then you look at your heating and cooling system and how efficiently it's laid out, how old the system is, and what your demands are for comfort and what alternatives you might have to heat your home. You can add a wood stove. There's wood pellet stoves. You can just heat a room that you're in. You can live the European lifestyle, so to speak, where you just heat the room you're in. There's a lot of ways you can work that house, but you got to get the shell and the insulation done, to the max at first. Thank you for inviting me here today and a nice lunch. And any more questions, give me a call.